Hello everyone. If you would turn your Bibles to John chapter 10, the passage we're going to study today is John chapter 18. But I want to read something to you or together that has a lot to do with the miracle we're going to study today. We're going to study the miracle of Jesus restoring the soldier Malchus's ear. And we'll look at that story. But first I want to read John chapter 10, beginning at verse 11. Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd who owns the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I, Jesus says, am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and my sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen, and I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. Now if you'll turn to John chapter 18, verses 1 through 14 will be our passage we're going to study today. This miracle is recorded in all four of the Gospels. We're going to use John's account, but I'm going to read from all the other ones because it seems like every one of them have a little more information to kind of get the whole entire story. This passage that I read previously, Jesus says, no one takes my life. I give it of my own accord, and no one can take it from me. He says he would die by his own will. In verses 13 and 14 of John 18, Annas and Caiaphas, the high priest of that day, it was their thinking that they were the ones that were having Jesus arrested and killing him, and they were the ones that were going to have him killed. Jesus had exposed their, I don't know what you call it. They had a money-making scheme at the temple and some other unscrupulous things there that they were doing. And Jesus had exposed them, and they had hated him ever since that. And so they're out to get him. Let's read this passage, beginning in verse 2 of chapter 18, and then we'll look through the story. It says, Now Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him, knew the place, because Jesus had often met there with his disciples. So Judas came to the grove, guiding a detachment of soldiers and some officials from the chief priests and Pharisees. They were carrying torches, lanterns, and weapons. And Jesus, knowing all that was going to happen to him, went out and asked them, Who is it you want? Jesus of Nazareth, they replied. I am he, Jesus said. And Judas the traitor was standing right there with him. When Jesus said, I am he, they drew back and fell to the ground. Again, he asked them, Who is it you want? Again, they said, Jesus of Nazareth. I told you that I am he. If you're looking for me, then let these men go. This happened so that the words he has spoken will be fulfilled. I have not lost one of those you have gave me. Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Jesus commanded Peter, Put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me? Then the detachment of soldiers, with its commander and the Jewish officials, arrested Jesus, and they bound him, and they took him to Annas and Caiaphas. In verse 2, you see that Judas Iscariot has come to betray Jesus. If you remember from the Last Supper story, Judas leaves before participating in the supper, and Jesus tells him, go do what you got to do. I know that you're going to betray me. Judas goes, he agrees on a price, and now he has come back to lead the soldiers to where Jesus is. It says in verse 2 that he knows the place. He's been there before. He knows it's where Jesus goes a lot of times to pray. In serious situations, this is just a place that he goes. Verse 3, you see that it's Judas and a detachment of soldiers. They have torches, lanterns, and weapons. In Luke's account, Jesus says, what's up with this? Am I leading a rebellion that you come at me with soldiers and swords and all this kind of stuff? Jesus just simply states it's a little over the top. He knows he's going to give up willingly. They don't know that. They think maybe they're in for a fight. Also in Luke's account, Jesus tells the disciples something that he's never told them before. Luke 22, verse 35, Jesus asked them, when I sent you without purse, bag, or sandals, did you lack anything? Nothing, they said. Jesus said to them, but now, if you have a purse, take it. If you have a bag, take it. If you don't have a sword, sell your coat and buy one. It is written, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And I tell you, this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, what is written about me is reaching fulfillment. The disciples said, see, Lord, here are 2 swords. And he said, that's enough. First time ever, Jesus has instructed his disciples to get a weapon to take with them. It's kind of strange Jesus would say this since he's going to surrender, but I guess he wants this for their protection in case they just at least have something to hold up so they don't hurt them. Verse 4, Jesus knowing all that was going to happen. Jesus knew everything, all the events that were going to occur before this time, at this time, and after this time. He knows who these people are. He knows what they're here for. He knows the task that is coming up, that he has to go to the cross and die. He knows all this. Jesus says, who y'all looking for? And they say Jesus of Nazareth. Verse 5 was one of the greatest verses in all the Bible to me. Lots of good theology just in this one verse. When Jesus says, I am, and it says they fell as dead. They fell backwards, they fell down. Some of the other accounts, it does say that they looked like dead men. Just his breath. This wasn't bad breath. That sometimes someone comes up and talks to you and they have bad breath, that you come backwards. This was the phrase, I am. I am God. This power in these words made them fall backwards. Again, Jesus is giving his life willingly. They are not taking him from him. They are not arresting him with him kicking and screaming, and he's not going to run. They're not going to have to come find him somewhere. Also, in Matthew's account of this story, let me read this real quick. Matthew 26, verse 50, Jesus says, friend, do you come, do what you came for. Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of his companions reached for a sword, Peter, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. And then Jesus says, put your sword back, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? Jesus tells these people here, I could call 12 legions of angels. A legion was thought to be about 6,000. So he's saying I could call 72,000 angels to come all at once if I wanted to. I have that at my disposal, but I'm not going to use that. Peter, he's one of the big characters in this story here. Most of us identify with Peter because he has a lot of the characteristics that we have. He runs his mouth too much. He speaks before talking. He speaks before thinking. Also, he has some good things about him. He's bold. He's fearless. He loves the Lord. He does mostly what God tells him to do. But sometimes he's very confused, and he's afraid, and he's anxious, and he just has a lot of the same qualities we do. Obviously, Peter is not an expert sword fighter. We would assume that Peter is not swinging to cut off the soldier's ear. He's probably swinging at his head, and he misses, or either the guy ducks and he hits the ear. He's just trying to defend Jesus. His heart's in the right place. He's just trying to defend his Lord, who is obviously fixing to be arrested here. Jesus just commands him simply, put that away. I'm giving up. I'm giving my life willingly. This is the Father's will for me. What about this soldier? This guy, Malchus, is an interesting character in this story. Apparently, he's the soldier in charge here, or at least he's the one that Annas and Caiaphas put with Judas to be right up in front, leading these soldiers to actually, put the cuffs on Jesus and take him away. John's account, interestingly, does not include the restoration of Malchus's ear. So let's go to Luke chapter 22, and it tells that part of the story. Luke 22, verse 49, when Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, they said, "Lord, should we strike with our swords?" And one of them, Peter, struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. But Jesus answered, "No more of this." And he touched the man's ear, and he healed him. This is, Jesus reaches down, gets this bloody ear off the dirt, and just reattaches it, and there's immediate restoration of this soldier's ear. Malchus's reaction here in this miracle is not recorded, but as we would all imagine, he is just like in awe of what just has happened to him. Just a second later, he was reaching up and there was blood all over his hand, and now he feels again and his ear is attached, and he's like, what just happened? What was Jesus' purpose in this miracle? This is a strange one. Of the 35 miracles that are recorded in the scriptures, this one is different. Malchus, he does not ask for healing. After Peter cuts his ear off, there's no record of him asking to be healed. There's no record of his faith or his belief in Jesus. We assume that he's an unbeliever. But Jesus heals him. I think there's a couple of reasons why this miracle is recorded and why Jesus does it. First off, I think Jesus just wants to finish his ministry and finish and do the Father's will. Finish his mission. Finish his work. Jesus also knows this was a spiritual war, not a physical war. Paul tells us in Ephesians 6:12 that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces of evil. For us, most of our battles, I'm sure all of y'all probably have a gun at home. But you rarely, if ever, have had to use it to defend yourself. The biggest fight we're in is a spiritual fight. We have more fights with Satan, more battles with him than with someone coming up with their bowing up with their fist, or they have a gun against us. Most of our battles are spiritual battles. Most of our fighting is a spiritual battle versus Satan. We don't need a gun, we need the armor of God, which is also there in Ephesians 6 it talks about. Another thing this miracle teaches me is something that we've seen in all of these miracles that we've studied, is the power of Jesus. But in this miracle, I think it's interesting. To me, it seems like Jesus' power is revealed in his restrictions of his own power, if that makes sense. He says, I could call angels. I give my life willingly. By not showing all his power, he proves how powerful he is in a way. He proves his power here by restoring Malchus's ear. He proves his power to us by giving his life willingly and going to the cross. He had just said to these guys, I am. And they fell back and just fell on the ground as dead. He showed his power just by speaking. And then he says, okay, arrest me. He shows his power by giving his life willingly. Today concludes our study of the miracles of Jesus. There are 35 recorded miracles of Jesus. That's not how many miracles he performed. Most likely performed thousands of miracles. There's passages where it says Jesus healed all that came to him. And it seemed like he was at a particular place for maybe a day or two sometimes, and there was just a line of people coming to him. But in these miracles that we've studied, we've studied every type of miracle. We've seen him healing diseases, raising from the dead, walking on water, healing lepers, every kind of possible miracle he has performed. We've also seen that there have been, Jesus has showed no prejudices in these miracles. Whoever came to him, it did not matter about their color, their race, if they were rich or poor, if they were clean or dirty. Some of them were even mean and nasty, and he still ministered to them. One of the things that we've seen that was required in these miracles was faith. Malchus's faith in this miracle we've studied today, this was different. I think there's a different purpose here. It's for Jesus to show his grace and his compassion and his forgiveness, even in this moment when he has this guy coming to arrest him. We defined a miracle when we started this as an extraordinary event that reveals divine intervention by God in human affairs, and that power surpasses all human abilities and human understanding. We've talked about how we participate in miracles today. I believe that God does allow us to participate in his miracles today. He puts us in the right place at the right time right circumstances with the right person to participate in an extraordinary event. Sometimes we miss out on participating in today's miracles because we just say no. We're afraid. We don't think we know what to do, and maybe God moves on and uses someone else. For you, maybe you think there are some things that we have in our own life that we call miracles, and other people would not. For most of us, we would say it's a miracle God saved a wretch like me, and that would be true for all of us. But what are we doing with that miracle? What are we doing with the miracle of new birth and the miracle of the new life that He's given us? To me, one of the things, it's a miracle to me, for me and Cindy and my family, that God put us at First Baptist. It's a miracle that I have this Fearless class to teach. It's a miracle that I have these friends that I wouldn't have. And these last 25 weeks have taught me once again to not take those things for granted, and not take for granted the miracles that He's done in my life, and for me to take advantage of those things that He's given me. Like I said, today concludes our study of the miracles. It also concludes our Sunday school by video. Hallelujah. And we'll meet in person next Sunday, 9:15. We're at our normal time, 9:15. For our class, we're in our regular room, C256. If there are some of you that are watching that are not regular members of our class, I want to invite you to come. Others of you that are members, I'll see you next Sunday at 9:15. The first service will be moved to 8 o'clock to accommodate us starting at 9:15. So until then, I'll see you next week.